Welcome to the BANGover Podcast, double-decker episodes. We're diving deep into new metal. Normally, or because it is October, Halloween, everything's supposed to be spooky. We're supposed to pick some bands to kind of fit around that. Well, this is scary in a different way. Because of its popularity and still the claim that it has to this day on the music industry and the way bands work. How did we get to where we were? How did we get to this type of music in 2000? You know what I mean? There's a reason for all of it. Jack is joining the podcast right now. I said in or out, boy. Mascot for BANGover. Okay, so we're doing Linkin Park and hot dog flavored jellyfish. Limp
Bizkit and Linkin Park. They both came out relatively around the same time, literally.
Same year. Months.
The same month, October 17th and then October 24th. So about a week of release date separation, from each other.
Yes, makes sense.
So, hot dog flavored water was first. That's why we're talking about that one. And it's just kind of a representation of like that 2000s sound. Like it's just the start of 2000s. We're about to go into 2001. And it's kind of like going to set the tone for like what's to come. For like this whole generation.
For me, this whole thing is just like how the movie industry works sometimes when like Armageddon and Deep Impact come out in the same month, in the same season, the summer, and it was pretty much this where it was like one movie company was making a movie, another movie company has a bunch of spies or just ears to the floor and they hear about an asteroid movie, so they go quickly into production to make their asteroid movie. Therefore, it's just like everyone rushing to the market with this product that's hot right now.
Yeah.
What's in the minds of the American people. Same thing happened here. These albums are very much alike, but these are two very separate bands, and we're totally going to get into why. Yeah. So let's first start off with the hot dog flavored water. Since we're watching it's also 2015 live.
Yeah, we're
here
watching
in the background.
Limp Bizkit live. We'll transition to some Linkin Park
Golden
live footage.
Cobra.
But this is it's indicative too of like the bands because Limp Bizkit, this is their third album, so they're already they've already broken with Significant Other and Nookie and all that stuff.
And that is crazy because Significant Other is a year prior to this.
Yeah.
Which that is a hell of a turnaround to come out with a 15-song album that has over 4 singles on this? 5?
There's a lot. And
I think this was 2 discs as well.
I don't know about
I felt like it, I can't remember.
There's a bonus disc. So you are right. There was a bonus disc that had 2 extra songs.
That's probably what it was.
3. Perhaps
they love to do a Rum DMC. They love to do some covers.
Yeah. So it's kind of just, again, like this band had already had success. They're already sort of known. They're kind of following up this breakout album, Significant Other. $3 Bill was like really like kind of an underground success sort of a thing. And
everyone had that CD in their case, right?
And then and then on the flip side, you have Hybrid Theory from Linkin Park, which is their debut album. It's kind of taking this sound and even extrapolating it because there's like 2 singers now. You have like seems like the band is bigger. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you still
it's kind of like it's also like kind of buying into like I don't think this is what it was, but it could have been. It's kind of like the big band thing at this time where he had the Slipknot, your Mushroom Heads, like. A fucking even Limp Bizkit, Linkin Park had a lot of fucking people. It felt like what I mean.
Yeah.
You had
they
2
did,
singers,
totally did.
a fucking DJ,
bass player, 2 guitar players. I think.
Holy shit, 2 guitar, yeah.
I think. Let me double check here on the.
I was doing a little bit of research behind what those guys did after Linkin Park.
Yeah,
nothing. It's too big. It was too big to go anywhere else and create anything else. You know, they'll
Yeah.
always be like, "That's the guitar player from Linkin Park," and you'd be like, "I'll never live it down."
Yeah. Well, it looks like on this, I mean, maybe we're thinking of maybe the later Linkin Park. This album did only have 5 members, which kind of equals Limp Bizkit.
All right, so just the
And
one guitar player.
I think, right? You have, yeah.
So the other guy's doing sampling as well as the DJing.
Yeah, well, there's turntable, sample, guitar, and then later on Mike Shinoda did start playing guitar in later albums and stuff. So they did have this 2 guitar sort of sound.
It also he does like sampling and stuff, and I mean they also have the turntable right there, but there's just a single guitar player that also plays bass sometimes.
Yeah. So it looks like he swaps around.
That's not what it seemed like when we saw them.
Well, that's why I guess they have fill-in members for bass. It looks
for live shows.
For live, so yeah, there are about 6 people: drums, turntables, guitars, and then two singers.
It's not that big. It just seemed like a lot of people.
Seems like it is, yeah. I mean, and we can talk to that like about the sound. Listening to these 2 bands, they sound really big, and that's because of that. I think
fantastic.
that DJ, like. I was listening to some of this Limp Bizkit live stuff, and even listening to the album, there's parts where there's 2 guitars going on, and it's impossible to do that.
Yeah.
Like there's a lead line, and then he's still doing like the rhythm underneath. And that's the DJ. The DJ's doing the lead line while he's still holding that rhythm guitar line, and the DJ's doing like the like searing like lead scream or something like that. So that's something that these bands really were able to like. In this time, utilize and still kind of figure it out. But like, I think later on, we definitely get more of it. But this is like the time where it's like, okay, well, we got a DJ, so we could have another guitar player. Yeah. We could have another
all these fucking bands
singer.
DJs.
We could have
Slipknot had a DJ. Yeah. I know why in the first album. I kind of know why in Iowa. Didn't hear it after that. But you saying this, it's like it's a lot of filler going on to make a way bigger sound than you possibly think. Yeah. You know what I mean?
And even the DJ adding like some of the screams, like we listened to like some covers that, they're able to be almost industrial with that. Like to have different stuff fill in the background. It's always on time.
You could be a little digital. You can add your hip hop flair because of it. So, also, the bass and the drums line up with that DJ.
DJ solos. This album has a, DJ Lethal, Bring It On.
Dude,
it's got a DJ solo. Like,
you know what's fucked up? That most of these people, and okay, we're going to get into, this is not, I know that, okay, okay, let me start. If you don't like this shit, go fuck yourself.
Yeah, that's
at the same time.
That too.
You don't have to. Yeah. You know what I mean?
This is probably going to be a very controversial episode.
People love to talk shit, right? The name alone is to piss people off.
Yeah.
Did you ever stop to think for maybe 1 second that maybe Fred Durst is a fucking genius and that he studied the musical fucking terrain and figured out what was going to be popular?
I think in that
look,
sense, yeah.
The way that everyone has a fucking, like a band name in this, DJ Lethal is still fucking famous. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's like, wasn't he in a Sepultura song?
Well, he was in...
that Sepultura song off of Roots, right?
Well, he's from another group. It's off the top of my head. Son of a bitch. House of Pain.
Oh, right.
He was the DJ in House of Pain.
That's why he was already like big.
Yes. So
I wonder if he came on after the fact that, like, a record, Interscope Records has this band, and they're just like, we can give you everything to make you even bigger than Korn.
Yeah.
They're going to be the end.
They were
the new metal.
Really, and again, we'll get in. Like I say, Limp Bizkit really captured that like frat sort of outlook. It's really like I'm gonna fuck you up fighting sort of, because a lot of these songs are like really
clothes.
Machismo, like don't fuck with me sort of songs.
My way,
yes,
it's my way or the highway.
You have that on this album, and then the flip side with like It'll Be Okay and like Take a Look Around. There's like songs on here. There's songs on here that are like really
My Generation,
upbeat and like almost happy. Like there's hope for the sadness in the world. But then you also have the flip side of the album where it's like touch me or fuck with me and I'm gonna fuck you up sort of
Yeah.
like mentality.
And listen, so 3 hour, 3 albums prior.
Yeah.
I've listened to them. It has been a long time, but
Yeah.
it felt like those were more machismo. Those were more of your,
Definitely more
your
nookie.
military, or just like those kids in those rural areas that don't have anything going on. You know what I mean? It really it gave them some music to listen to. It made them have some confidence. I think on this album, they got it. They were like, oh shit, we're getting too bro with it. So we're gonna like tone it down a little bit and become a little bit softer around the edges to write some of these songs. Like all these songs have like heaviness to them, but they all have a lot of space and time, and there's a lot of softness. And
whenever they get to the bridge, they always slow it down, and it becomes like a softer melody type song.
Exactly. And like My Way has the best melody. It's like it's a really good song, and it's a song that gets stuck in your head right away. Like the listener out there can probably think, or just close your eyes and think, or you know what it sounds like. You don't need to hear it. You can go 20 years without hearing it, and you still know what My Way sounds like.
Yeah.
It's well written.
They're a little bit more edgy, of course, than the Linkin Park, which would come out a week.
That's a little bit more.
It's a little bit more fine tuned
emo on that end.
A little bit more emo. It's even more polished, kind of. It's like, every song. This last album had 5 singles, you said, but I would say
always grabbing his fucking dick.
But I would say, this Linkin Park album arguably has some of their best songs, even though, like them or not, there's a lot of like hits or just like songs that if you had a Linkin Park best of, I don't know because I'm not the biggest fan or even
just their first album.
Like
usually the songs that slap the most or
that's
like
what I'm
first
saying.
albums.
Yeah.
And even a band that's so big that they can't get past anything, Other albums will, like, I know other people say other albums are better than Hybrid Theory because they are one of those bands that are really good and well thought out. Yeah. But, it's like it had to start somewhere, and this is a big start.
This is the start of, like you're saying, that emo hard, because Fred Durst was a little bit more harder edge. Limp Bizkit was.
Yeah.
Whereas Linkin Park was speaking to like the little bit more emotional side. There may be like a Deftones or something like where they can get heavy, but then they like drop down.
So I'm pretty sure Limp Bizkit might have even started the idea of like a Chad, you know what I mean? Or that term where it's like they are those people that listen to rock and metal and stuff like that, but they're just a little bit, they're just a little bit more like jockey, like, it's like a frat dude that's not in a frat. It's more like the extreme sports dudes. It's like extreme sports. You get it? It's like Monster Energy drink. It's like all this shit is happening at the same time, and they buy in. It's genius. It's fucking ingenious. This name of this album is the dumbest shit I've ever heard of, and it was meant to be that way. It was meant to be like 1 million copies in the first week.
Did you listen to the last song, the outro? It's track 15, and because it's funny you mentioned this machismo X Games thing because Rob Dyrdek is on the song.
Oh, no way!
And he's so the outro is like this phone call interview with the record with like a interview with the some
producer.
No, it seemed like a radio interview or something, and like the guy's just ripping on Limp Bizkit on the air, like to Fred. Fred's over the phone, and he's just like, "Yeah, man, I'm total into the Limp Bizkit," like just completely ragging on him, like over the phone. And they put it in the and he's being a dick, but they also play with it because they take this loop of him laughing and they loop it for literally like 4 minutes or something. At the very end of all that, though, they start playing phone messages that Ben Stiller, Mark Wahlberg, Rob Dyrdek, and Stephen Jenkins leaves.
Holy fuck, that's a list, dude.
And it's so funny. Rob's like, "Hey man, I'm at the X Games. I got my new skate park. Come check it out." It's so fun. So it's funny you say all that because it's actually referenced in the album.
Because it is.
Yeah.
It's literally like, I don't know if it was Fred Durst or like they had a band and a record label saw it and knew exactly what to do. You know what I mean? But it's just like his fucking baseball
think
cap
it's
alone
marketing
is the icon,
genius
you
for
know?
all of that. Like it may not be like maybe a musical genius in the sense of like, hey, I can read scales and I can do
Yeah,
all
no.
that, but he is like he
marketing
knew
genius,
yeah he knew
yes.
what was like playing. And this show that we're have live for the video version is
That's 2015.
it's
That's
in
well
Germany.
past it. Yeah.
And so it's like, and you can see how many people are in the audience bouncing up and down to this shit.
It's like
and
10 years after no one gave a fuck.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So
And it's huge.
they're still sort of relevant around the world, even though America, we laughed off to your point of like this musical genre that we're about, 2000, we're about to break into kind of gets shunned because of how like machismo and dumbed down and, just fuck you attitude, let's fight. Like it's so like just kind of.
But at the same time, you have like Wes Borland, which is known for being a really good guitar player.
Very good.
And hooks after hook after hook after hook. He's
There's
a
a lot
riff
of
master. All he needed was a different band.
Yeah.
And now that will never happen because of the success of Limp Bizkit. You can't move on from it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, even like the drummer, John Otto,
what a cool name.
Jazz trained. He was in a lot of avant-garde bands before he even joined Limp Bizkit. And then he was like, you know what? I could do this rap metal thing.
And make money.
Exactly. And the biggest thing you'll ever do. And maybe you're not like doing crazy jazz fills or whatever and expressing your, full potential, you could argue and say, but it's at the, benefit of the however many thousands plus people that are there to see you.
Thousands?
Yeah, million, hundreds of thousands.
Fucking, yeah.
I don't think there's a million there, but there's like at least 20. I don't know. There's a lot of fucking people.
In Europe, they come. It's like 30,000, fucking 40,000, easy.
So you kind of, it's like you not even sacrifice really. It's just if you want to reach this end goal, you kind of. It's kind of the marketing genius, like of Fred Durst. It's thinking around like what's popular and what's going to happen in music, and not what.
And these bands didn't have to put 20 years in.
Yeah,
like our favorite bands, the ones that are just filled with riffs. Like the Riff Salads, the well thought out bands. It takes them forever to blow up. It takes Primus literally 8 years to sell Jerry Was a Race Car Driver, and that was just because of a fucking video game. It's like, but this was like, you don't have to wait. You know what I mean? No. If you're on top of it right away when everything's exploding, and everything was laid out in front of you. Korn already did this back in '94.
Yeah.
So therefore, you had time to put shit together and adjust your sound.
Mm-hmm.
And fucking perfect. I wish you can give me some reverb right now so I could do that whole My Generation. John Otto, drop the beat.
Yeah.
Like I fucking, in some ways, love it.
Yeah. There's a lot of iconic stuff that Limp Bizkit's known for. Yeah, you know what I mean? All that stuff.
All the talks. All the hype before like each song. Yeah. You know what I mean?
So we got Fred Durst doing vocals. You have Wes Borland on guitar, Sam Rivers on bass, DJ Lethal, turntable samples, keyboard, programming, and John Otto on drums. Wes Borland also does, I believe, all the cover art. Like he's done all. He's an artist, so he's drawn. If you go look at his art, it's crazy.
Of course, he's an artist.
Yeah.
Look at all that body paint. All the time.
He always dresses different for live shows and always like does crazy things.
So he's well thought out.
Yeah. You have Scott Borland, who I'm assuming is his brother on keyboards. Scott Weiland from Stone Temple Pilots.
Scots. We didn't even introduce ourselves. But keep going.
And then he does vocals on Hold On. You got DMX, Redman, and Method Man on Rollin'. You got Exhibit on Get Your Groove On, which is That's a good song. And then you got that that spoken word answering machine stuff I talked about from those four people, and Rich Keller, who does bass on Rollin'. And you got Terry Date doing some of the production, which we've talked about Terry Date before with like
the guy that started this all,
Slayer, Soulfly, Overkill.
The guy that literally started the new metal.
Yeah,
is that him?
Yeah.
So I think it was Scott Date, and there was also
Terry Date. Scott Weiland did additional production.
I'm sorry, but it was
which is crazy.
Another guy. Another producer that did like the At the Drive-In album. They would say he's the godfather of new metal. And I just can't remember his goddamn name right now. We talk about him all the time, and I can't believe I'm just going blank with his name at this moment. But, Terry Date was also in, like, all those mixes. You just saw, like, Deftones, you know what I mean, like, on that list. Like, these are really good engineers, you know. Look, Andy.
I was going to say, we got
like right there.
Andy Wallace did the mixing on every track but 9, 10, and 14, and we talked about him recently.
That guy that made over 1 million albums?
Yeah, that's...
Jesus, this guy's known for making... like
he collaborated with Rick Rubin on Walk This Way.
80,000 records he's made. 80,000?
So you have... It's a bit of like the new school meeting the kind of traditional, where it's like you have all these...
Right.
Kind of, you know, there's a lot of...
they just boost it to the modern sound.
Exactly,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
Like the way the drums sound are different from 1990.
Yeah.
Even from 1990 to 1980, that's a whole different drum sound. From 1980 to 1970s, it's like what we go like in technology and I guess you can say like flavor. Like the mindset of the American people.
Andy Wallace also mixes Hybrid Theory. So he does both of these albums.
Of course he does. Didn't he do all the Korn albums? Didn't he do everything? 80,000 albums.
So he also mixed this album. So it's again a really good listen if you go back and just put both on back to back. You can hear the like. I mean, from a mixing standpoint, you're having to bring in this whole DJ side of things. So it's like you're filling out everything that the other instruments kind of weren't touching or hitting frequency wise or even just soundscape wise.
You know what's ridiculous? Like, do you think the DJ went into a booth and recorded his parts? Probably not.
But he not in a booth, but he did have his.
You just go in there with the computer.
Well, you just have it all hooked up in headphone and just play live to the track. So you are having to probably perform like the scratches and stuff live
a little bit,
but you're not like it's not.
But this is still like. We're in the era of technology where you can just drag and drop, if it didn't fit.
Yeah.
It's like, I was a little off on that one. Let's just scoot a boot.
Yeah, we'll start transitioning to Hybrid Theory. But again, there was some sequencing going on, programming. Hybrid Theory has a lot of sequencing and samples and just, digital editing, Pro Tools, stuff like that. So anything else you want to say about... this one, Chocolate Starfish. I'll finish up with some facts, but
I mean, I remember when this came out, I was riding the bus to school and they would play the radio and I think it was like classic rock radio or something. And the DJ was just like losing his mind over this. He's like, what are people listening to today? Like, this is the dumbest shit I've ever heard of. Like, he was just going on a rant about it. I thought that was hilarious. There's a show on Adult Swim about, it's like two twin brothers that are comedians. Have you ever seen this show? I can't remember what it's called. It has a weird name. But they're like, two twin brothers that do stand-up together. And they're hilarious. They're kind of like a dry...
Moving Out?
Yeah, moving out. And
or it's not moving out, but it's they're a Moving Bros company or something.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah.
I can't remember the name. But in an episode, they like wash up on a long lost island, and it's like a beach party island that broke off like from an MTV like filming of Spring Break, and it like floated away, and it had like Limp Bizkit and all these like
oh my god
people just living on that island for the past like 20 years, and like Fred Durst is God, and there's this whole like Dr. Island or the island of Dr. Moreau or whatever the fuck, kind of feel to it. I thought that was like
they're referent for as much as people rag on them. They're very referenced in a lot of pop culture and stuff.
I mean, he was in Zoolander.
Yeah,
he was everywhere. The guest stars alone in his music videos.
Yeah, he's friends with a lot of people.
Like the Nookie music video.
He dated Paris Hilton. I mean, he's very into this LA scene.
A rumor about him, going out with Britney Spears. Who knows if it's true, but it doesn't matter. That's like what really put him on top. I mean, the Nookie video alone just blew my mind because, okay, I like this style of music, but when I was still younger, there was a couple songs that got me, but that was about it. I really thought it was dumb, And I kind of just
Well,
saw
yeah, we
like
can-
straight through it from the beginning. But I mean, you had Marilyn Manson show up, Eminem, like
Yeah, this is
Trent
that whole
Reznor's
time
hanging
of
out.
all that,
It's
yeah.
like Jonathan Davis
Well,
is there.
for this
I
this
just
type
don't
of
understand.
album, it did
Everyone bought into it.
sold really well. Sold 1 million copies in its first week of being released, and then
Ain't that stupid, is it?
400,000, basically half of that in the first day. And then it goes on, remained number one. In its second week, still was number one. Went on to be number one in the Canada charts. 2 months after release, certified 4 times platinum. 7 months after, certified 5 times platinum. 6 times in April of 2002, and then 6 times platinum by Music Canada in October 2001. So again, and then also besides it selling outrageously, like all those numbers, it is like not really well critically received. You know, a lot of people don't like it.
Rolling
Stones kind of like, 3.5 out of 5. Rolling Stone album guide is a 3 out of 5.
Ooh, what did Pitchfork give it?
Metacritic's a 50 out of 100. And then
No Pitchfork?
no Pitchfork. Spin,
Pitchfork
7
didn't
out
even
of 10.
touch the album. They refused.
So it's kind of mediocre album critic wise, but given by the sales, you can see that like fans really liked it. And it was for, what is it? February, January, recorded in just a couple months, February to May.
And the turnaround time from their last album as well, like a year later from Significant Other.
Westlake Studios in LA.
Here's another 15 songs. I know some of this stuff, it seems like filler because there's like the radio edition, right? That's what they always say on the side of like, it's like dub lowrider edition. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Even
Well, this
then,
is probably also like when we're talking about this time in music, like this is Flip Interscope and then Hybrid Theory is Warner Brothers. So you might be having this like
it's a competition
thing.
It's a competition thing.
Genres coming. So
total Chad metal over there on the Limp Bizkit side. Love it, hate it, who gives a fuck, screw anyone else that gives you shit about what you listen to. That's pretty much what it comes down to. Doesn't make Limp Bizkit a good band. Just because you like it, it doesn't make it good, I really like this movie. I think it's the greatest movie of all time. That doesn't make it true, So
I mean,
it's an opinion thing, and
I'm not the biggest
they gave
fan
it, dude.
of like the rap rock thing. I like some stuff. Deftones does it really well. Some
and that
Limp
was a
Bizkit's
bare thing. It was barely,
yeah.
you know what I mean?
And like, but that's what I mean when they it just depends, and it's like
sometimes it really is the record
sometimes
labels at this time
you could even
still
say
manipulating.
Slipknot is kind of like in there a little bit. So
And I'm pretty sure it's because of the times that like a producer was like, could you add a little bit more of that hip hop in there? It's like we didn't want to, but it seemed to what was selling at the time, And this shit, like, hold on, before we go, like Limp Bizkit, like, was bigger than any pop star at this time too. Like, to just imagine for 1 second, like that kind of level where he's like on a different playing field than anyone else, and a pop status for sure. It's he's a genius. I hope he saved his money, but they can go out and perform still to this day because I don't believe they lost any members. So on that dark, fucking topic, let's move on to something a little sadder.
Yeah,
to a band that I loved a little bit more.
For me to transition, I like Limp Bizkit more than, or I like this album, at least I'll say.
The Hot Dogs or the
maybe
Hybrids?
the band, probably. I'll just state for the band. I think I like them a little bit more than Linkin Park, and even when I was younger, just because of the edge. And I mean, I don't know. There's just, again, an artfulness to it that's just, I gravitate to that a little bit more, but also just to round out the whole thing, I'm not the biggest fan of either band. So it's like, you know what I'm
it's
saying?
Really not
it's
our
like,
style.
Exactly. I'm not going to say that and sit here and say like they're the best. I will tap my foot to it. I'm not going to lie.
What was our favorite part about Korn is how heavy that shit is, like, are you ready?
Yes.
It's like that was what we were going for, those insane breakdowns.
Yes.
And it
when
wasn't
they get
really,
heavy, they get fucking heavy.
And then when it was like the hip hop parts,
Yeah.
which was like, bah, and that was maybe like 2 songs on every Korn album, which like a little bit more prevalent on the Limp Bizkit side. And
who did the
a little
last
bit
one real quick?
less of any of that on the Linkin Park side, where it's like, yes, there is, but
Yeah.
at the same time, it was very electronica. It was very like you can definitely see where like a lot of bands nowadays like got that shit from. You know what I mean? Like, sure, Linkin Park wasn't the first one to do this style of music, but what they did was take like the new metal and then the other side of the new metal, which is the more industrial side. You have your Static X, you have your Orgy, you know, your Nine Inch Nails, your Marilyn Manson, and then forming that into another, you know, like some hip hop, some.
They were able to, I think, Linkin Park be more malleable because whereas you had just Fred Durst being on vocals, kind of like getting really heavy rapping and being soft spoken with like, you know, having to kind of bridge, like just be everything with, because this genre, new metal, it kind of does require you to like kind of go soft at points, get really fucking heavy at points, rap even at points.
You have to like work
be
with
very
the
malleable.
music,
Yeah. So like, I think giving that they have two singers, they were able to really like, you know, Chester being really good at like just getting intense, but it could also like
you can sing,
but get real intense. And then you have Mike Shinoda, who's you know, more rappy, but has like that kind of like talky voice where he could just like talk kind of.
Yeah.
So I think they were just a little bit more malleable.
They had the two sides. I didn't see anything like this besides for like a band like fucking Mushroom Head, which did the same fucking thing. They had one guy that was like all their like melodic parts, and the other guy was like their heavy like balls to the wall. It's a lot of bands still do that, like that are you can't even say that they're in the same genre, but like in this moment, kind of has that same feel. You know what I mean? Where it's just like totally know where all this is coming from.
Yeah.
And on this, it's like, it's not even, this first album is not even what you really think of like Linkin Park yet. You know what I mean? It's still like, oh my God, it's still in the hybrid theory.
Yeah.
So corny. I know. I'm sorry. But that's the beginning. And, you know, I was scrolling through some of these songs. I own this album. I remember listening to, I think it was like Paper Cut or one of the songs, popular songs. What was the other popular song?
I mean, that's the thing. There's a lot of for like this band, this album has a lot of their popular music, even though it might not have been singles. Paper Cut, Crawling.
I think it was Crawling.
In the End, Run. Yeah.
I think I was listening to that on the way up to Walmart with my dad. Must have been 11, 12, something. 13, I guess, at this time. And we get there and he's like, you want to buy a CD? And I was like, yeah. I was like, I want to buy this CD is what we were listening to in the car. And he was like, you like just gave me this look like, I wish I never had kids, you know, like, are you sure that's what you want? I was like, yeah, it's awesome. He's like, okay, you know, whatever these kids are into these days. He ends up picking up ZZ Top. I think it's Essentials and a Core from Stone Temple Pilots. And I kind of end up listening to those two albums more than I ended up listening to the Hybrid Theory because, again, it still felt very cheap and corny to me. You know, I like things a little bit darker, a little bit more edgier, even at that time when I was a kid. It's just, you know, where my head was. You know, anything that's too lighthearted, I was like, this is like Disney bullshit that you're trying to sell me. You know, this is like pop. You know, and when I was that age, especially in middle school, I could tell you so many reasons why Britney Spears sucked, you know, why all that shit is just for posers and this is real music. But it's kind of more or less the same.
I mean, it's like listening to it too, I was like, there was a time I was really like into this, but again, I've heard so much music since then and like things that have played from this, like learned from this or taken things from these albums. And so this in some ways feels dated and old and like still more dated than I think the Limp Bizkit, even though.
Well, because I think the radio really overplayed these songs. Like all 5 of the singles off of this, it's just insane. Crawling, you know.
Yeah, there was. Yes.
If you go back to the list, you know, it's like I could list all this. I can look at it and be like, that was the song 101X just played.
Yeah.
All the fucking time.
and we're talking about this album because of the anniversary, and it's about to actually have a re-release sort of anniversary for the 20th.
Right. 20 years for both these albums, people. We did not state that. I am Scott Allen. This is Chris Myers. This is fucking BANGover. Okay, let's go.
Let's go. October 9th. And so 2 days from now when we're recording, they're going to actually re-release this 20th anniversary box set, which looks to have about like...
It's gold. It's black.
It's going to have an 80-page book.
Holy, that's a lot of shit.
3 DVDs.
5 CDs.
Yeah. Is that what it said?
I'm counting.
Oh, no, yeah. 3 DVDs.
From the little picture off to the side.
So yeah, it's going to have a lot of stuff. I'm trying to see what all it's going to have, but definitely there's going to be 80 tracks. So however many CDs that is, 80 tracks.
Say like we could get that between the 5. I see like 5 discs right there, but I also see like a little poster.
Yeah, there's a vinyl you're getting. Yeah, so you're getting
a calendar.
Like,
what the fuck?
So much crap. Not that it's crap, but just a lot of like stuff.
Hybrid Theory vinyl.
Yeah.
The other album.
There's the 3
vinyl.
DVDs.
Numb? Is that Numb?
3 DVDs, 5 CDs, 2, 3, 4 vinyls.
Holy shit!
The booklet. All these posters and art stuff. So yeah, this is about to celebrate this huge.
What do you think that would be, about 100,
more
150?
Than Chocolate Starfish is getting for sure. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, didn't age. You say this didn't age well. That Chocolate Starfish did not age well.
In hindsight, it didn't, but in listening to it, it's like...
Production-wise.
I like it. Yes. I think...
Dude, the drums.
The drum sounds so
it's
good.
Yeah, it's so good. It really is. The guitar when that comes in. Yeah. I'm like, damn, dude.
That kick and snare is like snappy and like.
It's really good.
It's really good. Yeah. Whereas, you know, that was the one thing.
This is more of a sharper sound over here on the Hybrid Theory.
Definitely is more
Plus,
digital.
Think about it like this. They were 21 making this album. All right. This comes out, a week later, they're the biggest band.
Yeah, they're starting to play stadiums
Records,
and stuff.
You know they're starting to headline. It's insane.
Stadiums,
like, none of these bands really, like, sure, Linkin Park started in 96 in a small town in California. They've been doing this for about 5 years. Fun fact, they were called Hybrid Theory and then changed the name because, you know, probably a record producer told them to. And probably shifted their sound, and I'm sure everything else was there. They have it because it's genuine. You can see it in their performance. You can hear it in their music. This shit is genuine and emotional, and there's a lot of pain that is real. At the same time, you know, I was 15. I was like, why don't you shut the fuck up? You know what I mean? So it's just how aggressive are you feeling right now? I'm sure if you broke up with your girlfriend and this came on the radio when you were driving home, one of these songs like Crawl, you might actually start crying, you know, just really in that emotional time to get you in there. But they had all the stuff to get in there, but they were like 21. They blow up. And how would you react to being that big? You're nothing, and then you're everything. And then everyone's telling you, Chester, you're the greatest. Chester, you're amazing. You are Linkin Park. Like, no wonder you're going to start doing drugs. No wonder you start spiraling down a deep hole. It's like you never had a chance to like get through your 20s without like, you know, fucking the paparazzi, interviews, press, MTV just totally interfering in your everyday life. You know what I mean? Probably bought like a mansion. It's probably insane. Yeah. But you can see like the spiral, and especially when this is too big.
Look at how Limp Bizkit
don't want to start
it,
this big. Then,
you know, it's
even Limp Bizkit didn't start at this level. This was already
didn't start. No, but
was like
I think
the
they kind of
chapter in it. You know
I think
I mean?
Maybe did Chocolate hurt them or no? Because then they put out another album, which has that
2004. It didn't really do anything. I thought
it has that cover. They used that Behind Blue Eyes as
oh my god, I remember
their cover. Like their single.
But that was really the death of it.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. So after that, whereas Limp Bizkit's probably going on like they were on an early up, went down. They were like starting to plateau at Chocolate. They're plateauing right now.
5 albums.
Whereas Hybrid, you know, Linkin Park is kind of just having their rise. So they're kind of like eclipsing each other in a little bit. And then even critically, looks like Hybrid Theory was received a little better with like 4 out of 5s pretty much across the board.
What did Pitchfork give it?
No Pitchfork.
Didn't even touch it.
No.
They didn't even pick
Rolling Stone thought it was not as good
Pitchfork.
as
Go fuck yourself.
the other, but as Chocolate Starfish, but still with sales wise, it did really good. 12 times platinum. Peaking at number 2 on the Billboard 200. Yeah. 27 million copies worldwide. Best-selling debut since Guns N' Roses. Wow, didn't know that.
What?
So,
and still is?
it's debut. Or, well, Guns N' Roses is the best-selling debut.
Yeah, I can't think of any other band that would just come out the gates like this. Not this hard. Not ever again.
But I think
albums like after this point, the decline of selling albums is starting to come. You know, like the digital age is starting to catch up. We're starting to get to downloads.
They have over
even at this point. I was getting burned CDs.
30 million of Appetite. So still right there though. And to say that's an old, Appetite's that old and this is newer. It's even think of that perspective.
But there's a reason why these albums sold that many copies.
Again, it's the time.
And it's a beginning and an end to a lot of things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Appetite for Destruction was the beginning to an end for a lot of things. Just like this right here is going to be the end for Limp Bizkit because because this is what happens. Like we did all that, and then the next adjustment to it all would be the Linkin Park. You know what I mean? This would be the next step, and then all the other bands that are not going to get on the electronica bus. You know what I mean? On that kind of like emo, like emotional style of music. I know I'm explaining this like a caveman. They were going to go on to do metalcore, the opposite turn. And that's where we get like our, a lot of other Chad bands like your...
Chad bands.
Trapped and shit like that.
Yeah.
So it's like, which direction were you going to head with it? You know what I mean? Because at this point, like the rap metal thing is just not cutting it anymore,
Yeah.
Too many people went in on it and too many people destroyed it.
They did take a different approach to it where it's like...
Plus, like, all those kids are out of, like, high school.
Yeah.
So it's like they're growing up. They can't be wearing these Jinkos anymore. They're trying to get a job. You know what I mean? So it's still, like, the nostalgic vibe that would bring out, like, 30,000 people to a Limp Bizkit show to this day, because those people were in their 30s. And people in their 30s have money, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they're willing to pay $20 a beer and shit like that.
For the personnel of Linkin Park, you got Chester Bennington on vocals, Mike Shinoda rapping, vocals, beats, samples, Brad Delson doing guitars and bass, Joe Hahn doing turntables, samples, sketches and drawings, and Rob Burden doing drums and percussion. And then, like I said, they have like step-in bass players. I'm assuming for live, right? Because they have to have a live bass player. But for the studio, there was two. There was Ian Hornbeck and Scott Koziol, and they each only did...
Perfect.
Ian did 3 songs, and Scott only did 1 song.
A lot of people named Scott in this genre. Yeah. All right.
For your production, Don Gilmore, producer engineer, Steve Sisko engineering, John Ewing Jr. additional engineering Pro Tools, Matt Griffin engineering assistants, and Andy Wallace, like we talked about, doing the mixing. Yeah. Brian Gardner, who has done a bunch of other stuff. It looks like he's done a bunch of funk.
Brian Big Bass Gardner.
Yeah, done a bunch of hip hop, funk stuff. So he did the audio mastering and digital editing. Jeff Blue was the executive producer. And
so he just put in the money.
Frank.
He's a lawyer, music lawyer.
Yeah. Frank Murdoch's the graphic design. Maddox did graphics design, and James.
Oh, that guy's very famous.
Frank Maddox.
I think I've heard that once or twice before.
James Minchin the third did the photography.
Character.
Dust Brothers did the sequencing and the samples on With You.
So there was a time of music that we didn't talk about or haven't done anything with. Was in the 90s. There was bands like the Chemical Brothers, the Dust Brothers.
Yeah.
A lot of these like.
They make like acid remix of like
they're nuts, but there are a bunch of DJs kind of together. They had the Executioners.
Yeah.
My favorite was Prodigy.
Yes,
for sure, because Prodigy always added like like punk or metal riffs like in their songs. So
Yeah.
I was like right away, I'm connected with that. But so that whole thing is happening too in the 90s. And obviously we have the rap metal. And then also we have bands that are kind of a little bit further down the pole where we didn't like, the ICP, the Twisted. Like that's kind of where Limp Bizkit kind of ended up. That's where
they were
things
more
get
on
blown
that
out
side,
of control
yeah.
because we
Yeah.
do have that, and it's like trash America.
Yeah,
I was living there too. But
No, I mean,
I'm
I
with
agree.
y'all. I
It's-
shopped at Walmart as well. I fucking hate their pants at Walmart.
I think of those bands though, Limp Bizkit did supersede them in the sense of like they were a little bit more intelligent or a little bit more like refined in the sense of like.
But again, it's like you just play off the idea of like, this sucks.
But
It's
they
like,
get
yeah,
lumped
but
into that.
you know,
Yes,
yeah, but you're noticing me. You're giving me, the time of day. So
they're not musical geniuses like we're.
So this is like, I'm sure these people, obviously the Dust Brothers were in, a musical guest star on this album. So you can only think that these people probably loved a lot of that. They would call it techno, I guess, but it was like the first innovation of like electronica. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
At this time going on, like, there's a lot of good gems in there. I like a lot of Chemical Brothers songs. They have like, it's very dark 90s, So I still kind of like it because we also have the industrial era, which we have like the Ministry and the Marilyn Manson, like we were saying, and the Nine Inch Nails. So this is like, take all these things and slam them into one. And even the idea of like, Hybrid Theory is taking two different things and putting them together to make one. So, genius.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Hybrid Theory did go on to like win awards. Got the won best hard rock performance in 2002 for Crawling.
Who did they beat?
They got they had additionally got nominated for best new artist, best rock album. But that lost out to Alicia Keys and the U2 album, All That You Can't Leave Behind.
Bullshit on that YouTube album. That did not age well. This is far better.
It's found itself on several must-have lists, and that were compiled through the years, saying this is one of the best modern classics of the last 15 years. Loudwire ranked it number 10 in best hard rock debut albums. Some of the more
number
prominent
10. What was number 1?
Probably.
Oh, Appetite for Destruction.
Some of the more prominent of these lists feature Hybrid Theory. So, they're, again, for an album that's like right under Appetite for best debut of a band. Maybe it's not the genre or the like music style, but like
it's the
like you're saying, you walked into that album store with your dad, and you're like, "I'm gonna buy this," and your dad's like, "What?" And you're like, "I'm gonna do it because this is what's happening right now." And like,
I loved it when I heard it. It sounded angry.
That's how Guns N' Roses went on to sell 30 because they're like, "This sounds different. This sounds of the time. It's angry."
And it was different. And I guess what happened is that everyone bought into it, and then then I became like, a snob because if everyone likes
that's what happens.
I can't like it.
Once it's on MTV getting rotated,
so let it get away, and that's what won. I don't fucking understand.
It's that where you see, and then you see more how they get more popular, and you're like, okay, kind of like put the album aside and move on.
It just become, I don't know, but again, it still feels genuine, and I still think people feel that, and it's even to the point to where it's like I have to like just yell at people to shut the fuck up, it's like if you're just ranting about it, like, oh my god, like he's such a thoughtful artist, it just can drive you. I'm sure it drove him nuts, Chester,
yes,
who I'm referring to.
This album is produced, like you said, Don Gilmore. It's on Warner Brothers, and the studio was NRG, which we've talked about before, I believe. Rare, but they seem familiar. In Hollywood, California, North Hollywood. And then it was recorded from 1996 to 2000. So I'm assuming, just demo-wise, like songs just getting recorded, re-recorded,
some of the songs on this album, like Runaway, Point of Authority, those were singles before they actually got to Hybrid Theory. You do that to see if it's worth putting in the money to make a full-length album. So you sell some singles. So on this version of the album that we are listening to, and most people are probably going back to listen to, is the re-release with these songs on it. And I don't think that was re-released until like 2005 or something like that. But originally did not have 15 songs, and that's why they probably say 96 to 2000, because a lot of singles, they just added into this particular release. I don't understand.
Stating here, they did a 9-track demo in 1999, and then they were shopping that around, showcasing it, and they played about 42 different showcases for recording industry reps, and then they basically were just getting turned down left and right from majors and independent labels. And then there was Jeff Blue, like we talked about. He was a new rep for Warner Brothers at the time, so he was the one that actually that signed them and picked them up. So sometimes it's just like weird luck of the,
and it's always like
weird shit like
it's
that.
always
You know
the guy
I mean?
that just got the job that goes signs a band that needs said job,
needs like to prove himself, so he needs to find the next hot thing that.
Yeah. I mean, that was the story, I believe, with like.
Did you watch that one
like
show
with
on
Tad? I believe that was the story with like fucking. I don't think Primus.
There's a show on HBO Vinyl that is exactly that. It's like it's about a record company, and they're trying to.
That show failed.
Yeah, that show failed, but it was. That,
I liked it.
Me too, but it was that premise of like, hey, we're hiring this new A&R executive.
Yeah.
You know, you're now go find a band.
Find
you got to
me the
go.
new sound.
Got to go to live shows. You just got to go look at bands and listen to them and watch them and.
You always got to go in your boss's office and be like, I found it. This is what's going to sell. And they always had like a giant boombox in there and just stick that tape in there, you know?
The nervousness of putting on the album and you're just waiting, listening, watching for reactions. Does he like it? Because that's singing. The band's livelihood depends on this guy liking it and bobbing his head. And
yeah, it just has to do with like you have to come in there with a marketing plan as well. It's like you see, energy drink sales are up. You know, I mean, or like people love these type of movies where it's like a very dark kind of like
this band's about to put out something
we drama need kind of thing. So here comes Linkin Park. You know,
back to the movie studios fighting for like, oh well, Warner Brothers is putting out an apocalypse volcano movie. We need an apocalypse volcano movie.
And Dante's Peak was a lot better than Volcano. We know this because time tells. Yeah. So, it's kind of like rushing it to market. Again,
but I think for them, it's not rushing it if they're fucking doing it since 99. And you know what I mean? Or 96.
Right. But they're taking like a different approach. And then their sound progresses so much more. Like every time they came out with an album, it was like people loved it. It's not always the case when it came to their opposite opposing end on today's topic where it's the Limp Bizkit, you know? Yeah. So you can it's the two different flavors of what's going on right there, but kind of in the same wheelhouse. And in my opinion, not really, you know? It's just they say things like rap rock, new metal. They kind of just group this in,
they just throw it all together.
And they're kind of probably a little shoehorned into doing this too because, you know, it's just, I'm sure they were influenced by it, but it's to sell albums, so you got to do it.
Well, the marketing, be marketing genius, like Fred Durst maybe playing into it too much and then turning people off, and then Linkin Park being shy little emo kids.
And making it like refreshing again in some ways to like, let's, get through
the brash
like
versus
the next 3 years.
So
it's going to be irrelevant.
I mean... For both albums, again, I'm not gonna say I'm the biggest fan. I think I like the Limp Bizkit one more.
It was homework having to listen to both these albums.
Yeah,
there were 15 songs on both albums.
Yeah,
and loly shit, this one's 37 minutes.
Yeah,
the Hybrid Theory, the fucking hot dog flavor water is an hour and 7.
Yeah.
And I was like,
ridiculous.
Oh my god, it was time for this.
Yeah. I think the MVPs for both of them are probably
Andy Wallace.
Well, I'll give it to Jeff Blue for Hybrid Theory because he's the one that kind of put it in front of everybody. But then, I'll say maybe even Andy Wallace probably. You throw, I mean, that pretty. He's across both of them.
You defined a sound.
Yeah,
you said it. So I talked about a little bit of how like what
I think
would
you're right.
set
I
up
think
to
Andy
this
Wallace
music.
might
Yeah.
take it.
So here's the next step. A year from now, you know, it's gonna be. I almost had that producer's name on my tongue. Springer, Randy Spring.
Oh my God.
We come out with relationship of communication.
Yes, yeah.
And again, another album that changes everything. If you took Linkin Park and you took that At the Drive-In, put them together, what do you think you're going to get 7 years later? That's, yes, Mall Screamo. Exactly. You get the AFI. You get the hard, like, metal guitars, the D-tuning, right? Because, again, new metal gave us D-tuning. Shit is heavier in D. But you also get the punk side of it from the At the Drive-In. So you cut away the DJ.
Yeah.
And then still
Focus-
use the angst
It's
of
like-
the one before,
Yeah.
and then use the simplisticness in the rock and roll or the punk rock.
It becomes
attitude,
more-
you know,
yeah.
it's like, and that's where you get it. So again, the more albums we talk about, the more we kind of put this
We're seeing
the
this
piece,
the
the
big
story come
puzzle.
together. Yeah.
The puzzle of rock and roll comes
And it
together.
all makes sense. It's like a
Yeah.
roadmap. There's a line, you know,
Yeah.
and
you
it's
see
all
these
connected.
themes like the Terry Dates or the Andy Wallaces,
Yeah.
where it's like
The geniuses behind
these
it. you know?
people are behind these bands not only succeeding but then like sort of just making music. You know what I mean? Like they're the ones that that determine what, and
Even
not
if they don't
for
even like it,
better
they're
or for
just still
worse.
like
It's just
making it sound good.
exactly.
at
They're
the
just
end of
doing their thing,
Yeah.
and then the public's like, "Oh, this new metal thing. This thing's called new metal," and he's like, "I just put rap and rock together because they sounded cool."
Like, I just mixed the album. I don't
Yeah.
even know. Hopefully one day we get to work with Andy Wallace. And on that note,
Do we have
I am
any-
Scott Allen.
Yeah. Do we have any?
This is Chris Myers. We have so much stuff coming up.
News.
Please follow us on Twitch at BANGover Productions. We're doing all the live streams. We do this live stream for this podcast on there as well. If that I said that fucking weird. Backed up. I just woke up.
Live, we do
Coffee.
Twitch streams, and then everything's just back. We put it on YouTube for watching later. All the podcasts.
BANGover Productions on YouTube, BANGover Productions on Instagram, BANGover ATX on Facebook.
We got a Venmo too. If somebody wants to give us money,
That's BANGover Productions as well. Help us
this
buy
thing,
more
yeah.
stuff to make this
we
better.
can make this better.
Hopefully, we'll get to start maybe dabbling into like making some mock like music for said episodes. You know what I mean? I feel like
Yeah.
after listening to any of this stuff for like more than 30 minutes, I could give you one of these songs.
Mock,
I can
yeah.
make one up. Give me a turntable. Again, thank you all for listening, and please follow us on all the things. Click the like,
All
smash
the
bell,
things, yeah.
so you can
Smash the
You know.
likes.
be up to date with all our upcoming content. And yes, we're gonna get more spookier with the albums. We'll do another bangers, but now we're gonna get into kind of a little bit darker, you know, some Ex-Hoarder. We're going like some
Nail
fucking-
bomb.
Oh yeah, the Nail Bomb. The what is it? Celtic Frost.
Celtic Frost.
Yeah.
I think we're done with the new metal for a while.
For a hot second, I
For a
think
second.
this
We might
was
get-
it.
yeah.
We talked about everything else in it. We've done everyone else in it. We're not doing a Cold Chamber episode unless someone gives us money to, and then we'll do whatever episode you want us to do.
Yeah.
But on that note, again, thank y'all, and keep on rocking.
Keep on rolling.
Throw your hands
Keep
up.
on rolling,
Throw your
baby.
hands up.